Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Midlife Crisis with your hosts,
Ashley
and Tracy. And today we're going to talk about empty nesters, or becoming an empty nester.
Right. They call it empty nesting syndrome.
The empty nesting syndrome, yes. So I thought it was funny because about a week ago, my youngest, who still lives at home, so I have 3 children, 2 have already, left the nest, and I still have 1 at home, which is great. We're great housemates. We get along great.
Yeah, that's
and
nice.
Everything. But she came into my office while I was working, because I work from home, and we were talking, and she was talking about the fact that her and her boyfriend have been talking about moving in together.
Wait,
Yes.
he lives in Florida.
In Miami, or Fort Lauderdale. So, but he was actually a hotshot truck driver, so he's been, on the road most of the time. And so we're talking about it and talking about how that's going to work. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess his recent loads that he has had the last couple of weeks or maybe this month with the weather, with the freezing cold weather,
it's been terrible.
It broke him. He was up in North Dakota.
Oh, no.
Where it was like negative 40 degrees, and he
Yeah.
sleeps in his truck, which is just like a dually with a trailer, a large trailer on there, which is what he carries his loads on. But so he sleeps in his truck, and I heard what was going on, and I was like, this is life-threatening weather. Like, he can't sleep in there. And anyways, he decided he no longer wants to do this business that he's had for about a year or 2 now. But not only the weather, but his expenses are now overcoming his income.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to start getting hotel rooms,
Well, but the maintenance and the repairs on the truck, there were issues that he had up in North Dakota, bless his little heart, and the trailer was frozen to the truck, so he couldn't even take it apart to take the truck in for a repair. And then that cost a couple $1,000s. And I guess these types of things have just been happening. The axle to his trailer broke because one of his clients that he was delivering a load for, the load was much heavier than what they said it would be or what it was supposed to be. So it broke the axle. He had to fix that. Plus, they dinged him for not delivering the load on time. Yeah, it's crazy.
Even if it's due to weather.
Or the fact that they put a load on there that was heavier than the trailer allowed.
He should be able to find them.
Right, but it didn't work that way. So anyways, they were talking about moving in together, and he lives in Fort Lauderdale, and that's where they're going to live. And I'm excited because, I love Miami.
Florida, yes.
And so I was like, ooh, I'm going to come visit you all the time and all this stuff. So we were laughing and talking. And then she looks at me and she says, Mom, what are you going to do? And I just was giggling. I'm like, what do you mean?
You're going to be all alone.
Yes, she's like, you're going to be all alone. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking all these things, like happy thoughts and everything. And then she goes, you have never in your life lived alone. And it kind of took me back a minute, and I had to think about it. And she's right. In my whole adult life, I've always had children.
Yeah.
And this is a 40-year span.
I can relate. Yeah. I mean, I had my first very young. I had him before I graduated high school.
Right.
And I was married at that
too.
point. We got married, and so I'm the same way. Never lived alone. Ever.
Yeah. And so now you are an empty nester. You're full-blown empty nesting. And how long has it been now?
It's been about 1.5 years.
Okay.
Well, no, I take that back.
I was going to say,
thinking of when Connor left for New York.
Okay,
no,
right.
No, Julia moved out in the summer last year. So it's been probably just over 6 months. However, she's here almost every day.
Right.
So fortunately, 2 of my kids live very close.
Right.
Like I said, one of them lives in New York across the country. But yeah, so I get to see them very often. But it is very nice having the home to ourselves. And initially, I was excited, but I was really sad. And I'll never forget the day that Julia moved out. Paige, I think, has been a lot more excited about being empty nesters than I was. And Paige was a mess. She was crying. I don't think she expected that. I don't think she expected that emotion.
The emotions.
And the overwhelming feeling of like, wow, the kids are gone.
Yeah. They're grown up now.
They're grown up.
Yeah.
They're like going off to adults, you know?
Yeah.
And she doesn't have kids of her own. So this, you know, but we've been together for, you know, we're going on 9 years. So she watched my younger two really grow up. Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't think she expected that, but it is very nice. We're comfortable. We're very happy with it.
Very nice. Yeah.
But initially it was really a kind of a blow. Like, okay, what do we do?
And that's exactly what I was thinking. Now, of course, you know, my youngest Tatum, she hasn't moved out yet, but she's definitely planning on it. So, you know, her boyfriend now, he has a regular job, you know, in the Fort Lauderdale area. So, you know, and she's not really into a career. So it'd be easy for her
just to find
you know,
something.
pick up and go and get a job over there, which she actually, because of me working in the Miami area through media, have a lot of connections.
Right.
And
that's
actually,
nice.
you know, she was made offers. Probably, it's been a couple years ago now,
wow.
and she was like, no, Mom, no. But so it lends comfort to me because she would be the first one that moves out of state because her older brother and sister both live not only here in Phoenix, but pretty close to,
like my kids.
To our house. And actually my oldest grandsons come over after school and, you know, and then I see my younger grandkids every weekend. So, and usually on Sundays we'll have a family either brunch or dinner, something along those lines. So it's going to be a lot different when she, you know, moves across the country.
That's one thing that has been really hard since Connor left. You know, Connor was already out on his own before he moved out to New York. But then when he left, that was one of the things that was really hard for all of us when we had our family get-togethers because there was a void. Yeah. You know, he wasn't there and it just wasn't the same.
Do you call him or?
We do. I mean,
when you guys are all together having those family moments.
Yeah, we usually will FaceTime with him. Fortunately, he's been able to come out quite a bit. I mean, he was here 3 times last year.
Okay. Was he here for Christmas?
He was here for Christmas. Yeah. He came in the summer at one point and he was here the February before. So it was nice. It was short spans of time without seeing him in person. We still talk almost every single day, and FaceTime most of those times. So I get to see his face a lot, but it's hard when you start having those get-togethers. Yeah. There's a void,
and there's
know?
A void. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
is he homesick? Has he expressed that he's homesick or misses the family? Or is he just thriving?
He's thriving. Yeah. I think initially it was really hard for him, especially when we would FaceTime him when we were all together. It was kind of like that, you know, I wish I was there. Right. I know he still gets that feeling, but not as strongly. But he's just thriving. I mean, he has a full life. He's very busy. He's got a great job. He's met great friends. Yeah. And he really, I got to go visit him over the summer and see his apartment and spend some time with him, you know, seeing where he goes and what he does and see where he works at the Strand. And it was just like, wow, he is in his element. Yeah. He really is. And it was very comforting to see that.
Yeah. And nice for you to be able to have somewhere to go. So now you can go to New York City and definitely see him. Yeah. So, yeah.
But that is hard. I mean, like I said, it's, when they, you know, even when Julia was here for a little while, she worked and went to school and she had a life but you're still thinking about them when you do dinner and you still see them all the time and you know what's going on in their day-to-day life. You know where they are and what they're doing. And when they move out, even if it's not across the country, you don't know all that stuff anymore. Right. And that's weird. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like uneasy at first, you know?
And for me, I know one of the things that immediately came to my mind was, I remember because Tatum went with her boyfriend on some of his trips and was gone for a week or two at a time. And, but I remember thinking, what am I going to make for dinner? Right? When you're cooking for one, even if it's just 2, it's still way different than just cooking for one. So I'm definitely going to have to find recipes and things to cook for myself to make sure that I'm not eating out all the time. Exactly. And those types of things. And because I've been a working mother just like you, raising the children. It's not that I don't make large dishes and freeze it.
Right.
Right. So that's something that I'll do.
Meal
I'm thinking,
prepping.
but meal prepping and all that kind of stuff. But there's just a lot of things. And then the house being quiet. I was like, well, am I going to invite somebody to come stay with me? I do have a 4-bedroom house.
Right.
What does that look like? But it was just so funny, and we both laughed. And for me, just to think that I never really gave it much thought, that my whole entire life, I've never, ever, ever lived alone.
Literally alone. Yeah.
Literally alone. And we laughed, and I said, well, you're taking the dog.
Maybe that's what you'll do. Maybe you'll get yourself a little dog.
Maybe, but I really always envisioned myself continuing to travel. And with a dog, it's just harder to do that.
Yeah.
So perhaps I will, but I'm honestly thinking that it won't be something for me. That's one of the things I can come over here and love on your dogs.
Exactly.
Like people that don't have children, they become the aunties and stuff. But it's just all kinds of things. It's like, well, do I fix things up? And I'm sure I'll leave her room as a shrine.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Especially because she is moving, or potentially moving.
Well, and when she comes
across
to
the
visit,
country.
it'll be nice to, she'll
Yes,
have her
they'll
room.
have a place to stay, and I've always wanted, the kids to feel very welcome, and coming home, it's their home. It's always going to be their home.
Absolutely.
And my grandkids, all of my grandchildren, ended up coming home from the hospital to my house, our house, our home. So. It's kind of not the compound because it's not quite that large, but definitely, it's the family home, and I want everybody to always feel welcome, even if they're not, living at home.
Yeah.
So, but I've done a lot of thinking about it, and just starting to think about it honestly, because it's so new to me.
Well, and it's not like she was ever vocalizing, this is what's going to happen someday, or I'm thinking about that. It was just like all of a sudden like, hey, so guess what?
We've been talking about it and about moving in.
So it's kind of like a bomb was dropped on you,
Right.
So you didn't even have a reason for your head to go there before.
Yeah, because I did think about it, because they've been seeing each other for over a year now, and but then I thought, how's this going to work? He's always on the road.
And long distance can't last forever.
Exactly. And I thought, well, even if they got a place together, if it wasn't in Phoenix or Arizona, she would be by herself most of the time while he was traveling, but now that he's, given that up, his own business, and he's, has a full-time job now with benefits and all that kind of good stuff,
great.
Now I'm seriously thinking about it. But you're right, I didn't think about it, and it kind of was thrust upon me recently, and not necessarily out of the blue. She's going to be 24.
Yeah,
right. So, like I said, I don't know. I love having her at home. We easily, we're good roomies, right? And, we're just in our own rhythm, and it jives. She spends a lot of her time. She's a gamer. She works. Like you said, they have their life, but yet.
But you know where she is and what she's doing. And even if they are off, doing stuff, you know where they are, and they don't have to let you know anymore when they're not living at home, Not that they have to when they are, but my kids have always been very respectful about.
I talk to my kids, the ones that don't live at home all the time, every day, and we're still very involved in their lives, and they call us for advice, for when they're down all the time. We have that open communication.
Absolutely. And when my kids lived at home and they would like go out with friends or anything, go to the bar or whatever, it was like when they got home, I knew they were okay.
Right.
Like, it's okay.
Yes.
But now they don't live here. So I'm usually, I know when they're going out, they still tell me what, they're up to.
Right.
But I don't get that comfort of like waiting up and like, okay, they're home, they're good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's
just
really
hearing
an
them, even if you
adjustment.
don't wait up and you're already in bed, but you can hear them come in and you're like, okay.
Or if you wake up in the middle of the night and check your Ring camera, okay, they made it home.
Yes.
Or their location, or, you know, and even if they didn't come home and stayed somewhere else, then, you know, they would always let me know. And now there's no reason they would. And so, it's just, you know, I don't know.
I know, it's definitely...
It's an adjustment.
It's an adjustment. And not only are we dealing with this, you know, in our midlife, but we're also dealing with it as we're going through menopause.
Our own changes.
Perimenopause and our own changes.
Yeah.
So I think that lends a lot to the emotional...
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Right, effect that it has on us.
Absolutely.
And, you know, maybe even anxiety or... You know, like you just said, knowing, you know, that they're home safe in bed every night or, you know, and just that they're safe.
Yeah. I mean, we're going through physical and emotional changes ourselves. So when something like that happens with your life and the way you know it, it's a big change. And that's just another thing that's thrown on you that you're going, okay, what now?
Yeah.
You know, and we're already going through
so
an end of
changes,
something and a beginning of something, and now this is thrown into it.
Yes, there's just so many changes that I think most people are dealing with in midlife, and a lot of people look forward to that day.
Right.
But like you mentioned, you know, with Paige and how it affected, and that you were surprised and she was surprised on how, you know, it affected her. So I think a lot of people, even if they have plans, I don't think a lot of people plan for after.
Yeah.
Right? You plan for your retirement, you plan for different things, but maybe not plan for when, you know, you're an empty nester.
Yeah, I think sometimes like you have an idea.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's obviously at some point, you know, it's going to happen.
Right.
So you have ideas of what that's going to look like or what you want to do. But you don't always know exactly when it's going to happen. You know, some kids go away to college, and they never come back.
Right.
Or they do come back, and you don't know how long they're going to stay. And,
right.
Or some kids move out and they come back home for a while.
They do.
Which we've both been through.
Yes, they do. And maybe sometimes more than once, right?
Yeah.
Especially nowadays when, you know, everything is so expensive and so challenging out there that it creates more struggles, I think, for younger
financial
people.
Strain.
Yeah, trying to be out on their own. But I think even if you think you know, you know, what it's going to be like when your children leave home,
right?
Especially for women.
Yeah.
You know, that may be going through menopause at the time, or, you know, a lot of people, I think, married people, have struggle with relationships as well.
Yeah, because then you only have each other
to
focus on.
Right.
And if you weren't really, if you were so tied up in your careers and your kids and all of that, and that all kind of changes, then it's like, oh, hi.
It's almost like you have to get to know them again. Yeah. I think with most married people, right? Some don't have those problems, or, you know, get to those challenges, but I think a lot of people do, right?
Oh, I think it's very common.
Especially mothers, right? Because even if you do have a career of your own,
you don't really have anyone to take care of anymore.
Yeah, there's just something about that that affects you as well, that in a way maybe that you didn't think it would when you know, when you would think about it often. So but that's what I'm finding for myself, and I'm trying to think of things to keep me busy, because right now, you know, she works, you know, we interact, but not all the time, every day, you know, 24/7. But I just know when she's gone, it feels different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're not going to have that interaction with her, which is challenging because you don't go into an office. So you don't have human interaction throughout the day. Right. Fortunately, you have, you know, your grandsons coming out after school, but in the summer they won't be, you know, like it's going to be very different. A lot of things are going to be very different. And I think it's probably going to be a void that you're going to have to figure out how to get around. Yeah.
Yeah. Like not have it feel so quiet and feel so alone. And And of course I have wonderful friends. And I have, my tribe, and then friends outside of my tribe, and of course you have your work colleagues
out of state that could come visit and stay
with
you.
That is true. That is true. And I was thinking, should I maybe rent her room out? Because I do have a couple of friends that have gone through divorces and maybe are staying with a sister or their children.
They're kind of in between.
And perhaps not able to support themselves because it's just ridiculous on how expensive everything is. And maybe I open a door, to that. And but I don't know. Then I'm kind of like, maybe it would. Yeah.
Well, I definitely think you should enjoy the quiet. If it gets to be too much, yeah. But I think that generally people realize how nice it is.
Yeah.
And you do get accustomed to it, you know. But
I don't want to start talking to myself and stuff like that. But I have a lot of friends. It's not like that. And Lord knows I've been binge watching television a lot more than I ever did. I think that's funny. When I cut the cord, I thought, oh, well, I'm probably never going to watch television now. And it's the exact opposite. I watch more television and I binge watch because it's so accessible.
Yeah.
And there's just so much content out there. But I definitely want to exercise more. I'm trying to think of things that'll put me where I want to be. Of course, travel.
Right.
Still. But even exercising and just creating a different daily routine.
Yeah, I think when you, like we said, even if they are self-sufficient and kind of doing their thing when they're still at home, as a mother, you still have this desire to, and just naturally feel like you're taking care of someone and you need to be available and you need to, and you're not putting as much focus on yourself as you are when no one's around, So, really, you have yourself to worry about. You still have your kids. You still worry about them. But it's like, I have every day, all day, to do what I want to do,
What is that going to look like? That just, I crack myself up just thinking about it. Wait, what?
It's crazy.
But I'm looking at it very openly and positively.
Good.
I think perhaps a lot of women aren't or don't, and I can completely understand why, but I should say I'm trying to look at it positively.
It's exciting.
It is exciting.
And it's exciting for her.
Yeah, it's exciting for everybody.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of you out there that are, going through the same thing. Maybe your children have recently left home. And for the women out there, while you're either in perimenopause or, menopause, postmenopausal, but probably one of the first two, right? Because of,
generally.
the age. Yeah, generally, depending on, how young you were when you had your children. Right. We both started early, but I ended late, right? There was a big gap in between mine. Between my oldest and my younger two, there's 15 and 17 years difference. So literally I've done nothing but spend my whole adult life raising children. And, we talked about it. I love my grandkids. I love being around them. I'm so blessed that they're close enough. They all came home from the hospital, to my house. So, and I love newborns. That's my favorite, my favorite time. And I always laugh and say, okay, and when they're 2 to about 4,
you can come visit for short periods of time.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh. And to have them so close and involved, I think that's wonderful. And I don't foresee that changing, luckily, which is one of the reasons why I don't want to move, because I do want to be close to my family. I can't imagine if something, serious happened and I was far away, that would just be excruciatingly painful for me. So, so I'm just trying to figure out what my life is going to be like. And of course, I'm not retired yet. And that seems like it's way far in the distance at this point. But so I'll have work, which is good, keeps you busy, keeps you honest, keeps the cash flow coming in. And I would love to plan on travel. But then, I was thinking exercising. I used to ride my bike a lot.
Oh, yes.
Right at the beginning of the pandemic. So we're going to Lana, and I have been talking. She wanted to do it this weekend, and I said, no, I'm too busy. And perhaps next weekend, because the weather's getting nicer now.
Yes.
I think both of us have flat tires, all that kind of stuff.
Gosh,
but
yeah.
we're we're gonna tune up the bikes and fill up those flat tires, and of course they're beach cruiser bicycles. They're not, hardcore,
right.
What do you call that?
Road bikes.
Road bikes.
Yeah, I have a Trek. It's actually a hybrid, so you can do trail riding or road riding with it.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
Really
I have the Beachcomber with a bell and a little basket and a drink holder. And we just cruise around the neighborhood, but it's great exercise.
Absolutely.
And the weather's good. And we actually had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
Mind you, it was a pandemic, so that's when you weren't supposed to.
Couldn't do anything else.
Go out and do anything else. But it was a lot of fun. So that's something. And maybe I was thinking about planting as well. Maybe starting a couple of gardens with just little gardens, maybe some herbs. And I know you guys have some tomatoes and stuff growing.
Yeah, we did tomato
here.
plants. Yeah, and we're, I just was looking yesterday trying to figure out what I can start planting for our spring harvest. So,
okay.
Yeah.
See, and I'll have to talk to you about all the tips and tricks of doing that. And nothing intense, nothing large on a large scale, but just maybe.
It's nice to make a fresh salad.
Yes.
Yeah.
And using fresh ingredients, spices for the most part, maybe
Peppers.
even some tomatoes. I wonder how many it would take to make spaghetti sauce. Probably quite a few. I don't know if I could grow that many tomatoes.
Yeah, I did 2 cherry tomato plants and then 2 of the bigger tomatoes. I can't remember which kind I got. And only one of my bigger ones took. And unfortunately, I didn't realize, this is my first time doing it, but we got our freeze before I could pull them off the vine, and they were full. All 3 of the plants were full of tomatoes still, and I had pulled a bunch off, but I mean they harvested really well. We got the freeze and it killed the plants, and so I couldn't use the. But my mom had told me, and I wish I knew this. You can pull all of them off, and they'll still ripen a little bit. I mean, they were good. They were just green. They were starting to turn red.
Okay, right.
But I didn't realize, they'll still ripen. I mean, they won't be as good.
Right.
But they'll so now I know that. So it's sad because I lost a lot of them. But yeah, you would definitely need a lot for spaghetti sauce.
That's what I thought.
Salsa, depending on how much you want to make, maybe not quite as much. One. And you can do all the peppers here, and so anyway, I think you would have fun with that.
Well, I think so too. We will have fun
together.
with it. Yeah. But I also think that there's something about I used to plant flowers and do stuff a long time ago. But there's something about putting your hands in the earth, and I'm looking for all of those things.
Take care of.
And something to take care of. But I think I'm looking for things that give you endorphins, the happy endorphins, and that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Those types of things I'm exploring. So
that's exciting.
What are you thinking? What are you doing? We'd love to hear from you. Are you an empty nester? Are you about to be an empty nester? What are your thoughts? What are your emotions? We'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to share with us, please like us or comment us anywhere on Instagram or Facebook. Or YouTube, anywhere that you listen to your podcast, because we would like to hear from you. It is a challenging time. And we'd also like to hear from men too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What does that look like for you? Because we're talking about it clearly from the female perspective, because we are females. And the additional challenges of, going through menopause and things like that. But it affects dads as well.
Absolutely. Men go through midlife too.
They do. And empty nesting syndrome, right?
Yes.
So please let us know what you're thinking, and we'd love to hear from you.
We'd also love to hear of any unique situations that any of you are experiencing. A lot of times, once your kids leave the home and you start empty nesting and you start to get settled in, things happen. And I know there's people who have had to take in grandchildren and kind of start taking care of them. I actually have a friend whose parents had been retired and empty nesters for a very long time, and were put in a position that they had to take in their grandchild, who was, I think, maybe in kindergarten. I don't know if she was yet at the time. And they're raising her.
Yeah.
They are full on raising her. And I think now if she's not in high school, she's close. But it's, they thought they were empty nesters. They thought this is our life.
Right.
And they're raising another child now.
Yeah.
So we would love to hear about any unique situations like that any of you have experienced. Because, like I said, anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps it up for today. And that just about wraps it up for today. Thank you for joining us on Let's Talk Midlife Crisis. Embrace the change.
Join the conversation on our website at letstalkmidlifecrisis.com or our Facebook or Instagram and YouTube channels. We'd love to hear from you guys.